So we are live. So,
And leaving a
hey,
space in between for Roy to join us after.
woohoo!
They're actually quite large. I was expecting them to be smaller.
Love my allergies. Yes, we are officially live. Got the notice on my, or at least for YouTube, got the notice in. Um, let's go to events and we'll let everybody know we're live. Are we live? I think we're live. Yeah, we are live. So we are live. I'm gonna make that note.
I'm not sure. Are we live?
We might be live. Oh, there's Margaret. Thank you, Margaret. Yes. I don't really feel like
Only
we're
because you
live.
mentioned it like 5 or 6 times casually. Are we
I
live? We're
don't
live.
feel like we're live until we have acknowledgement from the audience. That's when I feel like, okay,
Uh,
then
well, then,
we're live.
Margaret, thank you for validating us.
Yes, I need that validation to know there's somebody out there that's actually watching and can see and to hear us. So thank you. And so, okay, see now
Woo!
Meryl's here. There she is. She's got her pom poms. She's your LinkedIn cheerleader. Um, and I'm gonna just go ahead and let her introduce herself. And we've got some crazy hair issues going on, so I'm gonna fix that while Shell is introducing herself.
Okay, well, I'm not so concerned with crazy hair because I've got that too. But hey, everyone, I'm Shell, your LinkedIn cheerleader, with my new pom poms today, and I'm getting used to them because they're quite large. I as your LinkedIn cheerleader, I am here to help you engage more effectively on the platform. So I used to say I help people engage better on the platform, and this week I've been diving a little bit more into that to like talk about what that actually means. So again, what that actually means is helping you engage more effectively. I want it to be a better use of your time and energy when you're here. I want you to know exactly the things that you should be doing, the things that work for you. I want you to have a plan, an intentional plan around that so that you can just get on here, do the thing that you need to do, and have success with it instead of spinning your wheels. And as your LinkedIn cheerleader, I get really excited to encourage you to keep showing up and doing those things once you have that plan in motion. So that's what I'm here to do as your LinkedIn cheerleader. Mel, what are you here to do?
I am here to teach you how to use this platform in a way that you can be found, seen, and heard. So I see too many professionals. I was one of them that don't know what to do on this platform, feel that this platform gets a little overwhelming, and or has so much advice coming in. And obviously we're giving advice too, but I'm going to tell you the biggest difference is we ultimately want you to find what works for you and adapt that to your style. That's ultimately what we want, because how everybody does it, there's some hard and fast rules, maybe, that there could be some hard and fast rules. We have to think about which ones those are, but how you show up on this platform. But it's really, to me, this platform is a game changer because it's like no other social media platform that's out there. I mean, it just really isn't. You have the ability to truly, I don't even know, to some degree, if I personally think of it as social. I mean, it is social media, but I think of it almost very differently because you actually have the ability to connect with people on a daily basis, where it's not that easy, especially not on Instagram. Facebook is just very different. TikTok is a little bit, I would say, TikTok, you can, if you really focus on it, start having conversations on TikTok with people. But again, you here have an opportunity to actually showcase yourself and achieve your goals. So that's ultimately what I want, anybody watching today or anybody watching on the replay. If you do watch on the replay, just make a comment. Let us know that you caught us on the replay as well, because we love to see those comments. And yeah, tonight we're going to get started and we're going to talk about your LinkedIn DNA. So, and especially related to content. Content seems to be the biggest challenge and the biggest struggle for people. Do you agree or disagree, Sean?
I think it's definitely a challenge. I don't know if it's the most difficult, but one of the things that like I frequently hear from people is that they don't know what to post when it comes to their content. They don't know what to talk about, and so I think breaking down what the DNA looks like. That's a new LinkedIn term for me right now, because we've never called it that before.
I
But
know.
but I'm pretty sure I have an idea or an inkling of what that is, and so I'm excited to talk more about it because I really think it's important to have a framework for yourself of the things that you are here to regularly talk about, things that relate to your areas of expertise, things that you're passionate about, things that get you excited. And once you know those things, you'll never run out of content. So instead of spinning your wheels trying to think of what the heck do I post about, what do I have to say, or why should anybody care, we can tap into our career DNA to figure that out. So I said career DNA, but I meant content DNA. You knew what I meant.
I knew where you were going. So, yeah, super excited to talk about this. Yeah, I was just kind of playing around with like, I mean, the DNA is your code, it's how you're made up. It's, if we want to get somewhat scientific, that's probably the least scientific definition you probably have ever heard. But that also being said, we have DNA in terms of how we want to show up on this platform, how we are seen, how we are heard, how we are, viewed. And so I think it's really important to understand what is your DNA when it comes to this particular platform and how are you showing up on that? How are you, looking to, and I'm just going to say looking to achieve your goals, because everybody has different goals, right? Everyone, not everybody's looking for, well, I'm going to back up and say, I think even if it's not a direct goal, visibility is something that happens based on whatever that goal, like you have to gain visibility to achieve most of your goals here in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to be like massive visibility. It just has to be visible to the people that you're speaking to.
Now, visibility, just to be clear, visibility is not part of the DNA, right? It's going to be a byproduct.
I would say visibility is a byproduct of your DNA.
Okay.
So yes, that is a result of how you show up. But how you define yourself, what is your purpose, what is your why, that would all be, I would say, is all directly related to your DNA. And so I did ask the audience a question to respond with what their biggest challenges with LinkedIn content. Steve already answered, so I just want to acknowledge that. Hi, Steve, and he's in Toronto. And his biggest challenge is getting, that's what she's going to do now. For every person that I say hi to, she's going to wave her pom-poms. We hadn't planned. We hadn't planned on anything like that, but so so if I give you a shout out, you'll get a wave on your pom poms. That's an added benefit. So, but Steve's biggest challenge is getting interaction and comments on his content. So he's not sure what he is missing. So what would you say to that in terms of interactions and comments?
Well, first off, overall engagement, you may notice across the platform is down a lot lately. The dreaded algorithms are always changing. We never know what they're going to do or how they're changing things on the platform. So overall, interactions and comments are going to be lower than they previously had been. Now that being said, when it comes, and I'll be honest, Steve, I don't know what your regular content looks like. My bad. I will have to go deep dive on it afterwards. But I think based on the content that you regularly share, it's important to also think about like not just what you're putting out there, but who your active engaged audience is. And so, if that's your biggest challenge, my suggestion for you would be to go back in and look at the interactions that you're having lately. Whether that's in your who are you having conversations with in your in the DMs? And I know I was in your DMs today, so now I probably will see your content more and more. So like go back and see who you are regularly engaging with in your DMs. You could also look at who's regularly engaging on your posts. That'll tell you that they are active in your network right now, but also whose posts are you regularly active on. And so if you're not seeing that engagement, the interactions, the comments that you want on your content, maybe it's because you need to go interact and engage with other people in order for them to start seeing your content too. So Mel, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, that's exactly what I was thinking. Specifically the engagement piece. So there's two types. I will say this: there's really two types of engagement. There's the engagement on the feed. So increasing your engagement on the feed is where I would start. And even if it means cutting back on posting content for a while, that's okay. Like you don't have to like I don't want to say you have to consistently post content. You don't necessarily, if you did 1 week of just commenting and then came off of that and started posting, I think you would start to see an increased number. As Shell said, engagement overall on the platform is just definitely down. So I think it's one of the things too of like, and then look at, and I have to go, like Shell said, I'd have to go back to your content. I would have to say, make sure you are always asking a question of some sort to engage your audience with. That's something I was really kind of, I try to be pretty good about it now, but I was bad about it for a long time. I would be like, oh yeah, I forgot to ask a question. So give them something, a reason to engage with. And then I would just look at, I think there's also a DNA to the content structure of, read the readability of post, and, how it's formatted and how it's laid out, but also how often you're posting. I think that's another, we know that content is lasting longer on this platform than other platforms. So again, not necessarily the need to post every single day, but being able to, be able to stretch that out. Our hashtags, people are still using hashtags. I did have a tip that I came across that I hadn't even shared it with Shell yet. Somebody gave the suggestion because Shell and I have the opinion that pretty much hashtags are dead on this platform. Even if you use them, you can't really search for them. Like they're not. But here's an interesting thing. You actually can search on them on Google. So
Okay.
this was the
So they're
tip.
SEO friendly.
They're SEO friendly. So you could do hashtag, I don't know what this is going to get you people, so you go for it. I'm just making stuff up right now, but hashtag pom poms. So quotes, hashtag pom poms and LinkedIn. And it should give you, I don't know if anybody's used the hashtag pom pom, so I can't promise you that will result in anything. But I can tell you hashtag careers and LinkedIn. Now, just like hashtags performed previously on LinkedIn, careers is huge. So it's going to probably be a lot of stuff, but they are apparently SEO friendly. So that was a little interesting tip that I picked up. I don't know I don't even really remember who to credit that for. I was just doing some perusing on my feed, came across that and thought it was very interesting, and I played around with it. And yeah, I definitely, again, you can't filter it. You can't there's some limitations to that. But to your point, Steve, about you try to post public speaking tips and things that would help those who are looking to improve public speaking. Maybe that's something you try to see new people to engage with. I would also add to what Shell said as well is that DMs are something we've been made to hate DMs because we associate it with being, slimy and salesy and spammy. But DMs actually are very good to create conversations. And once you're in those conversations on the DMs, what happens? You start seeing that person's content because you're engaging with that person. So it really is a good place to have authentic conversations. So I just want to give a shout out to, I'm going to give another shout out, Shell. Get ready. Americo is welcome, Americo.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. See, that's our new thing. It's never going to get old, folks. Jay said that I should
also.
As
Mr. Simpson.
I know. Jay did say that I should have pom poms. There's no way in hell that I can have pom poms, not with this cat. Okay. He would be finding them and playing with them at like 3:00 in the morning. We already have sleep issues in this family. I cannot have pom poms. So awesome. I mean, this is the cat that has recently found the dryer balls, and he's the only cat that actually plays with the ball and chases it through the house. So there goes that dryer ball. so are my life problems. But I want to ask you another question. And I don't know if this is kind of a little bit of a harder question. What do you feel like are some common misconceptions about LinkedIn content? Like in terms of creating the content, or that?
That's a good one. I can just dive in there. You've given me enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Common misconceptions. Let's go. So you have to post every single day. You do not.
That's
folks.
a good one.
You do not. I'm gonna try to bust these myths as I give you them. You do not need to post every single day. Find the cadence and schedule that works for you. I absolutely do not post every single day. The next misconception is, and you take this with a little bit of a grain of salt because some people have a lot of success with it, posting at the same time every single day. If it works for you, great, lean into it. But if you're not sure, and especially, Steve, if you post at the same time every day and you're still not getting that engagement or interactions that you want, maybe try posting at a different time of day and see what happens. So sometimes I post in the morning between 8:30 and 10 o'clock, whatever, depending on what coast I'm on. And sometimes I post around 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, like I did today. It's a little bit more flexible because I'm just testing, I'm always testing and iterating. So that misconception is that you need to post at the exact same time every day. No, post at the time that you feel works best for you. And also test it out with when you seem to get better engagement from your audience. I would also suggest, as I piggyback onto that, not a misconception, but like the golden hour really does work. So when you post, misconception is that you can just post and leave it there, but no, stick around. Do that golden hour, maybe a few minutes before and after posting, so that you can warm your audience up, engage with them, answer any questions or comments that they may have right out the gate, which will then fuel your post to generate more visibility. So those are 3 misconceptions that I just busted wide open right there. What else you got? Yeah, I told you I could just run with it.
I know, and I had one, and then it left my brain, and this is why I should write things down, because I was convinced that I'd remember it. Really convinced that I was. Now I'm gonna just sit here and struggle with like, what the heck was I gonna say? I really don't know. Oh, I know what it was. That why should I post that? The thought that you posting content is not worth it because there's too many other people. Like there too many other people doing what you do. Like it's never going to be seen. So, and I really truly think like you have to kind of find, I loved everything that you said, Shell, in terms of finding your own cadence. I do personally feel, I struggle with my content. I'm not going to lie. Where I have more success and I have a lot of greater success is with engagement, but that engagement does bring people to my content. I have started to see a little uptick in terms of my content. So I am proud to say that. But I think that, for me, I have personally found 9:30 is my sweet spot. 9:30 a.m. is my sweet spot with content. If I typically post like today, this week's kind of crazy. So I did not get my newsletter out. In fact, I kind of wrote it on the fly, and I know it was like, and I didn't even like, part of it too is I had a tough time remembering it was Thursday. Like somebody asked me in another meeting, well, what day did you think it was? I was like, I didn't even know what day it was. I didn't even think of it as a day. I just was like, is it Thursday? So I didn't even know what day to think of it as. So I did get my newsletter out, and I can see a difference in terms of activity from just, it was like 11:30 that I got it out, but just that 2 hours. So I do think having, and honestly too, like sometimes if you can get, like if your audience knows, oh, Melanie's going to post her newsletter every Thursday at 9:30, you train your audience to kind of expect that from you. And that also, and less so with when your audience is responding, but they'll know it's there. And so that's one of the other things too. So our favorite girl, Mel Richards, is watching. So shout out to Mel Richards. Of course, she gets a pom pom. Come on. Oh, wait. Lots of
I do
questions.
like the idea of confetti, Meryl, but I haven't found one that's like retractable, like that retractable ball. I want one like that for confetti because I don't want to have to clean it up every 2 seconds. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that confetti and glitter. You'll be looking for it forever, folks.
Glitter's
So I'm gonna
fun
go with,
too.
yeah. I mean, my daughter, you know, as much as she is a tomboy, she also loves anything glittery and shiny and sparkly. I mean, her 3-year-old self is still alive and well in her. So, miss those glitter days. So Mel
I don't want to
Richards
get
had,
sidetracked though. Yeah, go
I
back
know,
to Mel.
is her biggest challenge is lead generation, direct messaging, pitch slaps, and connection requests with 0 recommendations, getting about 20 a week. Grateful for conversations with dynamic people who are doing fabulous work. So, and then also execution without, you know, adding LinkedIn email notifications is challenging. Infrequent notification about replies to our own post. So I'm going to respond to that last one first, then come up to her first question. So one of the things that I would say is helpful with that is I have seen recently a massive delay in notifications, like typically 24 to 48 hours delay in notifications. Like I'm not getting, even with newsletters, for example, I don't get the TLB newsletter until like, so we usually put it out on Wednesday or Thursday. So say, for example, we'll just use my newsletter, for example, it comes out on Thursday, right? I'll get a notification today, but it's for my previous week's newsletter. And that's my own notification. That's me as a as a subscriber. So
or I'll get a notification that somebody has messaged me back, but I'll get it like 8 hours from now after I've already had a whole conversation with them.
Yes. So I get all of my DM notifications. Like most of the time it'll be like, oh, Meryl DM'd you, or Shell DM'd you, or, you know, Bobby DM'd you. And I'll be like, okay, did I have, and then it messes with my head because I'm literally like, did I have that conversation? Did I respond? Because I'm always like, did I respond? So I go back and check.
You.
Yeah. I feel like with the notifications, LinkedIn is absolutely gaslighting me because then I'm questioning.
You made it up. It was all in your head.
And I'm like, well, I got to go check because I got to make sure I responded, right? So notifications are one of those things that I think are just a little bit out of our control. But I will say this, if you're responding to a person, you comment on their post, tag them in the comments. That will help with notifications. You're still probably, right now, the system is just, I don't know, it's just all out of whack. But that can help with at least live notifications that happen in your feed. And to going back to lead generation and developing those conversations, what do you feel? I'm going to go to you first, and then I'll share with what I've kind of done to kind of, because I personally don't get a lot of a lot of spam. I'm not saying I don't get some, but I don't get a lot of spam. But there's things that I feel like I've done that maybe help with that.
Yeah. Mel and I have talked about this before, so I'll just try to reiterate. There's two things that I do, and I think most of you guys know this. The Because I used to get a lot more pitch slaps and connection requests. Um, let me clarify. Connection requests with no note. I get a lot of in mail pitch slaps, and then I get a lot of connection requests still with no note, and I kind of handle them in a similar way. The pitch slaps, if they've immediately like gone into selling me something, unless there's something that I immediately see when I poke around really quick on their profile that I can help them with, block and bless. I usually decline without a message. I move them over to other, or I like completely block them and report them for the spam that it is. If, however, occasionally I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a chance on this and I'm not going to respond to what they said, but I'm going to use what they said against them to help them. And that phrase, I don't
By
think
the
I've
way,
ever.
she's the queen of that. She has so much patience with this game that she does with people. I do not.
It's not really a game, but
Oh,
sometimes it
it's a
brings.
game.
Sometimes it's like an amusing little thing that like
Yes.
I'll if I can see that I can clearly help somebody, and I'm like, hey, I'll say something like, hey, did you mean to say this, or like, how's that going for you? Because I know that you're like just pitching me into something like, why are you actually here? And I like use their words against them, and then tell them how I actually help people do that better. And sometimes it works in my favor, and sometimes it doesn't. But like if I have that bandwidth to play around and like have that conversation, I'm here for it. But the majority of the time, I'm declining without a message or blocking and blessing completely. Clear that out of your energy field, Mel. We've talked about that before. When it comes to the connection requests, especially those without a note, same thing. Most of them, I've got like almost 100 again, and I clear these out like regularly. Like I'll go check out the person's profile, look at their engagement, because since that's what I mostly like focus on, like look at their activity, look at what they've been up to. If there's something I feel like I can help with and they haven't left a note, yeah, I'm going to message them back before I ever accept their connection request and be like, hey, thanks so much for reaching out. Like, what brought you here? Or something along those lines. If there's something specific in their profile that jumps out at me, maybe I'll message them about that. But like 90% of the people who connect with me without a note never even respond when I reply with a message asking them, curiously more about them. So then I either hit the ignore button or it literally just sits there until I can't stand it in my list anymore. Now, the people that are messaging me with a connection request and a note, I still don't accept those right away. I still message them back. I'll check them out. They at least gave me some reason why they wanted to connect with me, even if it's generic. And if I feel like I can still help them, I will still message them back. And 90% of those don't respond to me either. So the long and short of it, Mel, is give what you have energy wise to it and not a moment more. If you have the bandwidth to respond or message them back, if it intrigues you, go for it. If not, just move on with your day. There's other conversations worth having.
I would say that Shell and I have probably both done to some degree. And again, it's not perfect. Like it'll never be perfect. We'll still get that spam. We'll still get that. We'll still get that. The spam, the messages with no note, things of that nature. People that are trying to always sell. But I think one of the reasons I don't get a lot of it is because we've trained the algorithm to some degree to like reduce that coming into our inboxes. And by that I mean where we block a lot of like I will if it is a spammy type of message, I will block that message. Now, right now there is something happening in the career space. there's massive fake profiles, and it's clear they're fake profiles. It's literally the same it's a fake profile, it's the same message. Oh, if you're like, if you comment on it, and it has to be related to a certain hashtag. I'm absolutely positive about this. Like, I know the open to work hashtag caused a lot of spam to happen, where they're commenting on they'll comment on something you say, or on a LinkedIn news article or something, and then they'll be like, oh, if you're having trouble finding a job, email blah, and it's literally the same message. So I know it's coming. I mean, I've seen it like 5 times. So that's a new thing that's happening. And I'm literally blocking. I report it as spam. I take that, I take that time to do that. So I think that is one of the things that, as these things pop up, sometimes they do increase. But that also being said, I still don't get a lot of spam, because in my inbox, I almost like, if it is anything, and I'm literally like, nope, not going to be it. The other thing is, I'm very looking, and this kind of goes back to the DMs, where people can engage on the DMs, is I'm pretty consistent with messaging people every day with like, hey, I saw that you checked out my profile. Not everybody, again, responds. But what I've also been doing is looking back to see people that have connected with me. And I will send them a little like, hey, thanks. And this is something you could do, Mel, as well, is like, hey, thanks for connecting with me. I truly appreciate it. Hey, I have this event coming up. I'd love to invite you. No pressure, but it's a way to get it. So we're going to talk about talking about lead engagement. I do that with all of my events. So of course I do multiple live, whether it's a live event for this or a social audio on Clubhouse. So if it's a career, if it was a career message that the reason I connected with him, I'll give them career coaches on call, or I'll give them LinkedIn 101. I may give, if it's a person that I think is a potential, like, interested in thought leadership branding club, I'll give them the TLB LinkedIn Mastery one and say, hey, I'd love for you to come and check me out and get a chance to know me. So it's a way to take those connections that maybe, and for your point too, Shal, for those people that don't respond to that message, hey, thanks so much for connecting. Love to invite you to my week's event. And, and again, you're telling the algorithm, these are the people that I want in this space. And it's, and it starts to recognize that. So I really, and it hasn't always been this way. I mean, a lot of times there's so much spam, and like the inbox was like, what am I doing? But once you start to really, really tell the platform, this is my audience, then it starts to recognize. It does take time though. And, and again, it's never going to be perfect. So,
yeah. And Mel's got a whole Lint tracker. So she's the Lint means LinkedIn networking tracker. So like she's already got this down. And yeah, like there's always ways we can improve and do things better. But Mel's a wizard at like keeping track of who's checking out her profile and where she saw people and what events they interacted at. And so I love that now we're finding ways to refine, like, okay, what are the energies here? Like, do I want these people in my space, or am I going to allow these people into my space, and how do I curate that to get rid of them?
Absolutely. Well, I want to keep on. We want to keep on trucking in. We're just using all sorts of analogies and stuff today. I don't know where that came from. But, I'm from. I don't know. It was like, I'm from Missouri. Like, what? Truth, I've lived in Maryland for 25 years, so almost half my life. But it's fine. And so I want to ask you a question, Shel, because I feel like this is something you're really good at, especially with helping people in terms of content-based, focusing on content. How can someone find their unique content style?
Okay. Well, I think this evolves over time, because you've got and if you're somebody who like follows a lot of LinkedIn creators, you probably see the masses of people, saying like you should style your content like this and format it like this, and do a video post or do a poll post or do a carousel, or the one that is your style, is the one that you feel good doing, and two, that your audience appreciates. So it's a combination of both of those things. You do not need to do every single type of content. I play around with this, and when I work with clients, like, we play around. I don't help create the content, but we play around with, all right, which style is our audience resonating? Is your audience resonating with the most? Which ones are getting the most relevant likes and comments, that would be within your wheelhouse, or like worth talking to these people more. Um, I've played around with everything from long form video, obviously lives, like the ones that we're doing here, short form, those vertical videos, which I've been trying to be more diligent about putting out there more and more. But it's not always something that I gravitate towards, even though people tell me I do it really well. Um, that doesn't mean I like doing it. So it's not going to necessarily be my go-to style all the time. I'm not crazy about carousel posts, so I don't really do them. They take a lot of energy and effort for me to create because I get overly designy and perfectionist. So I just kind of stay away from them. Occasionally you'll see me put like a selfie pic in there because usually it's related to the thing that I'm talking about. So I want people to see me cheering other people on in real time or getting excited to go do the thing. Polls, I've been leaning into those a little bit more. Steve and a few others here know that I followed up on last week's poll interactions today because that poll came to an end. So like that's easy engagement, folks. Like, right there, like, who was interested in checking it out and supporting you or participating in that poll. Easy conversation to go have. And so, like, if you can make that content work for you, great. Um, Sometimes I just do text posts like the ones I do today. Or another one that really works for me, and I think that is more my style when it gets stuck in my head, is song lyrics. You may not always know or recognize the song that is the tune that's in my head, but like, if you start reading it, once you know the tune, it'll be stuck in your head too. So I do occasionally put out a post that is like rebranded based on the words that I want to say, but like with a song in mind. The most recent one being R. Kelly's "I Believe I Can Fly" that I put out there. And I know R. Kelly is still canceled, so I had some reservations about sharing it. But Mel Richards encouraged me to trust my gut and the original intention behind that post, so I did leave it up. But yeah, like, going back to your question, how do you find your content style? Test. Lean into what feels good for you, but then also test to see what your audience resonates with. My audience seems to resonate with the lyrics or the more sing-songy, like, encouragement posts. My audience seems to resonate with like telling my personal transformation stories or sharing client wins. So you're going to see more of that from me. Maybe I change the format of that from time to time in a video or just like a storytelling post, but yeah, find what works for you and what suits your audience.
So a couple of things. Yes, there is a song by Eddie Kendricks, "Keep on Truckin'." I was actually thinking more Grateful Dead, "Truckin'," but I was raised by hippies, so that's a whole other issue and conversation. So, and on that note, I would also say I added a question. I'd love for everybody that's watching, even if you don't have issues with your content, how would you describe your personality in 3 words? Because I think if you can lean into some of your own personality traits, then that allows you to start defining what, like, your personality via your content. Because oftentimes I think, to Shell's point, we're given all these parameters like, oh, you should do a carousel post. Truth, they are time consuming to create. They're just time consuming to create. I mean, they really are. And, and I can't use the same, like, I have to have it in individual slides basically for Instagram. So I can't just take the PDF and put, like it's just time consuming. So I love a good poll, but my audience seems to respond to those polls. To Shell's point, following up on the polls. If we're going to do a poll, you don't have to follow up with everybody. Sometimes my polls have an extreme amount of people that have voted. And so I don't have that time. I haven't been as good lately following up with them. And then, again, I do my newsletter and I'm very committed to that. And I think that's one of the things too, of like, that's how I communicate with my audience. And so that, in developing that, and I think you have to kind of be able to find what works with you and how that works for you. So I think that's one of the things. The other thing that I would say is, what content do you enjoy consuming? So do you enjoy data-driven type of posts? Like, do you enjoy storytelling? Do you enjoy more visual graphic type of post? Things of that nature. I think that's the key of like, also, what do you like? Because if you like if we pour into the things that we like, we attract more of that, right? So pour into the things that you like doing and you like reading. That's going to also help with that as well. And then I'm also going to go back to something Steve said earlier. Steve's our guinea pig for tonight. Maybe we should just always have like one guinea pig ahead of time and be like, that'd actually be a good show for us to do. It's just, break somebody, break them down. That sounded horrible. No, we are not going to break you down if you catch us on
the most encouraging way possible.
But we'll support you all the way through it. But one of the things that I would say to Steve, so public speaking, again, just like just like LinkedIn, like career coaching, whatever we do can tend to be very vast. What makes you stand out in that realm? And Shell's a great example of this, the LinkedIn cheerleader. Nobody else is calling themselves the LinkedIn cheerleader. If they are, we don't know them.
That's actually not true. I've found somebody else who is, but I don't remember their name right now. So
see, but yeah. You don't remember their name. That's no. Sorry for that person. I'm not coming across anybody else, so you're my only one. So therefore, we're just gonna go with it. So yeah. So I mean, I think you have to kind of also lean into what makes you stand out. And I love writing. Sometimes I'm a good storyteller, sometimes I'm not. But I think one of the things I didn't lean into for quite some time was having been a recruiter for 20 years. I kind of took that honestly, I took it for granted. I just kind of assumed a lot of other people had that. To be very honest with you, like I assumed people had a similar background like me coming into the space. So I didn't really realize how unique and special that was. So don't underestimate those things that you bring to the table with your background. So, and I also liked what Americo said for me of like repurpose, I have to do a better job of repurposing content from these. So I think we've got a lot of ideas. So read the chat, people, because there's a lot of ideas, not just coming from Shell and I as well. So read the chat.
I want to add on to that a little bit. My screen got really pink. Hold on. All right, clear that energy so that I don't just look so pink everywhere. It's the lighting. I don't know. Okay, I wanted to touch on a few different things. So one style that I think your audience, you've trained your audience to know and expect and like from you, Mel, specifically, is your newsletter. And so in addition to your poll that people can expect from you every week, people are also now looking for your newsletter. I know you said you didn't get it out yet today, but
no, it got out. It just got out. Okay. It just got out too. I had to bang that
one. Well, then, folks, I stand corrected. It still got out there, even if it wasn't at the time that she wanted to get it out there. But, like, that's one of your styles, too. because you've built that up over time and you've leaned into it and it's consistent for you, right? So like that is something that works for you. That I don't have a newsletter. It's because it's not a style that I gravitate towards. It's not necessarily content that I go looking for. I also don't feel compelled to create it, but it works for you. So like you can see the subtle differences between like my content style and Melanie's content style. And there's no right or wrong way, folks. We tell you this every single week, right? It's the way that works for you. And Steve, as somebody who regularly talks about, since you're our guinea pig for today, and this is why I'm coming back to you with another like suggestion and example, especially since you regularly talk about public speaking, I think it is really important for you to occasionally be on video. People can hear your public speaking and like see that you're the expert in that, and build up that like, know, and trust as somebody that they can also learn from, respect, and interact with. And I did take a quick look at your activity while we were chatting back and forth here. And your videos do seem to get more interaction than some of your other post styles. So that should really tell you something, that even if it's not getting the amount of visibility and interactions that you would want, it's still doing better than some of the other stuff. And so maybe lean into that a little bit more and develop that more, again, especially as somebody who regularly talks about public speaking. Like, people are going to want to hear you, people are going to want to see you. So lean into that to build your credibility. I think I had something else I wanted to say, but I've lost that thought now. But thank you, Mel, for supporting me with the pom poms. And thank you also, Jay, for suggesting that I get them last week, because I immediately went on Amazon afterwards. Not that I really want to support Big Daddy Bezos anymore, but like, it's the easiest place to get them. And I went out and I looked to see what I could get. So yeah, I love that suggestion, and I'm surprised it took me that long to have them, especially since I am the LinkedIn cheerleader.
You know what? Sometimes we just have to do what we got to do. Um,
You had one other. I do want to go back to something that you put in the chat earlier, Mel. You had another question. I got to scroll back way down for this. You had another audience question in there that said, do you struggle more with the ideas or with the execution? So I want to touch on that a little bit, since I don't think we were like really, we covered like some of the execution part of it and the styles, but we didn't really differentiate between the two. So let's talk about the like coming up with the ideas a little bit. Do you want to go first on that, or you want me to dive in there?
Yeah. I think your ideas come from all different sources. So not this last week, but the week before, I did a whole play on Law and Order for my career coaches on Call Room. That was the post that I created that, literally was like, I forget how it started, but it was like dun dun dun. I love Law and Order. I've literally seen, outside of this season, I've literally seen probably I'm sure I've seen every episode outside of this season. I've been bad about this season. So I love Law and Order. And it's actually the show that I leave on for Simpson when I leave the house. It doesn't get Animal Planet, folks. It gets Law and Order, okay? His two favorite shows are anything on Food Network or Law and Order. So don't know why, but those are what it keeps him entertained. Picking the topics that I kind of want to talk about in that moment of literally like what I feel like is pressing. A lot of what I have to say, like, my ideas are sometimes they're random. Truthfully, I did a post the other day and I banged that puppy out and like nobody's business. I had a friend who was commented on the frustration of being rejected for interviews after going on interviews, or just the overall just the rejection piece of interviewing and struggling with interviewing and things like that, and asked about asked about some, how to keep your mindset or resilience. And I'm not a mindset coach. I always preface this, but I am a big believer in building a resilient mindset. It's something I've had to do uh, since 2017, when I went through my own career journey and hit rock bottom. And so I created just a one sheet document really quickly, and I made a post about it. And I commented on her post. I gave it to her. Hope this helps. Something little. I don't think it's going to change her and rock her world per se. But then I flipped it over and said, okay, I wasn't going to post any content. It was on Wednesday. I wasn't going to post anything that day, to be honest with you. I stopped what I was doing, and I created this one page document and put little brains on it. Like, they're cute. It sounds creepy, but they're cute. But yeah, I just created it with six areas, and I banged it out and put it up there. And then I said, hey, this was inspiration from Clarine. And, something she was struggling with. So I thought others might be able to appreciate it as well. So, a lot of times my content will come just through what I'm doing in the moment. I try to batch my content. I'm not always great about it. But one thing, like even America said, like I could get better about using my Opus clips and taking clips from here and repurposing this, which is something I do want to do. And I do think I could get better at that. So, yeah, but I mean, it comes from all different, on the weekend of International Women's Day, I have a picture. This is the picture that I have on my desk. It's my mom, myself, and my grandma. I don't know what year it is, but I had to be like 5, maybe 4 or 5. No, I had to be 3 or 4. I was a very tall child. I was an abnormally tall 3 and 4-year-old. But I dedicated it to them, the women that made me. So those are, so that's where things just come from. A lot of it, things are spur of the moment outside of my content posting for events. Anything else is really spur of the moment.
I can appreciate that. I want to tie it back to today's topic of content DNA, because if you think about like the core pillars of things that you regularly talk about here on the platform, first off, when we talk about this from week to week, please know your why, and your intention of why, and your goals of why you're on the platform first, because that's really gonna inform what your content DNA is going to look like. It's gonna help you figure out what your pillars should be. And if you're thinking about what the pillars should be or ought to be, think about like what's the thing that I'm most passionate about. What is like my area of expertise that I really want people to know about, and what is something that interests me that I want to talk more about, and then dive from there. So for me, like you regularly will see me talking about LinkedIn engagement, so that's a given, right? I occasionally tie that into personal branding, because I think it's important to develop your why and know why you're here and set the intention and have the goal. And yeah, I used to do more like literal branding, like with the pictures and the elements and stuff and that. I don't do it as much anymore, but like personal branding overall and your storytelling and the story, knowing what story you want to tell. Yeah, we'll dive into that with the content. I do like talking about my transformation journey. So that's anything from burnout, mindset, obstacles I've overcome, like my self limiting beliefs, my saboteurs. I talk about those, and then I reframe them so that you have an idea when I'm talking about those things in my content of what I'm doing now to mitigate that, or how I've overcome a certain obstacle and what's working for me now. So I do shatter a lot of like the limiting beliefs and overcome those mindset obstacles. And I should tell you about that in real time because I know people can relate to that. I'm not the only one who's been a people pleaser or a perfectionist or had imposter syndrome or who lacks self-trust occasionally, right? Like these are things that other people can relate to. And so I talk about those things. But those really are my core pillars. That's my content DNA. And even if I don't have it planned out every single day of what I'm going to post about today or what I'm going to post about tomorrow or what the post style or format is going to be, the way that I know that Roy does, and that again that works for him. I know that I can just go into my content bank and I know I'll have something to talk about. I also do really have a content bank because sometimes I'll be in a conversation and I'll like something and I've maybe already posted or interacted on something for the day and I don't want to put out another post. And so still go write that post and then I'll go save it in my bank for later. And when I feel like posting it or when I feel like it's a good time, then I'll put it out. So like I do like your approach, Mel, of like having things that are spur of the moment. Sometimes you find that in conversations, like you're inspired. And if it relates to the things that are your pillars, it's easy to come up with content around that. It's easy to like, okay, maybe easy is the wrong word, but like the content comes more effortlessly. Like what you're going to
Yeah,
write about, the conversation that you're going to have, the story that you're going to tell around that just kind of flows out of you more effortlessly than if you were like, what the hell am I going to write about today? There's so many times when I'm leaving a comment on somebody's post and I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to go talk about that more now. Like, content can come from anywhere, whether you have it all planned out and ready to go on every single day basis, or you're planning it in the moment. You should tie it back to your content DNA. The DNA. I'm losing my words here because we're at the top of the hour, but tie it back to the core things that you regularly talk about. Tie it back to your areas of expertise, your interests, the things you're curious about, the things that you want to talk more about. And then over time, it'll become more effortless and effective for you because you won't have to like rack your brain about what am I going to talk about today? No, I just know these are the things I could talk about. Now, which one am I actually going to talk about? And if I
I
can
would
pull from other
also,
conversations, even better.
no, I absolutely would also say, I also have a content bank, which is also why I could pull out, somebody might say, well, how did you just pull out a newsletter? Well, it's because I literally have a ton of stuff saved. And I just kind of go through, and honestly, it's like, I'm really committed to, so like, for example, Wednesday, I wasn't going to post on Wednesday. I really wasn't. I mean, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Like, I'm literally like, yeah, I don't feel any pressure to post on it, anything like that. But that moment happened, and I was like, oh, this is something I should be giving to everybody, and I want to share that. So that's what I did. And then but I am very committed to, like, no, my newsletter will go out on Thursdays. That I'm very committed to it. And as Mariko said as well, he made a comment, the newsletters have a lot of like SEO power. And I have found that has, for the most part, that has been very helpful from that. So, from that standpoint. So that's one of the things that I'm very committed. But I could go to my bank and just see what feels inspirational to me in that moment. That's probably, or what I feel like, oh, that's something I could, in this case, it was like, oh, I could easily write about that. Like, I could easily, like, I can take what I have here and I can create a newsletter fairly quickly from what I have. And I could bang that out fairly quickly. So that's what I did. So I think there's a lot of great comments and ideas and tips and everything. Honestly, this hour went by so quickly. It was a great conversation, and I don't know if it's just because of the pom poms. I've got to bring it full circle. So, um,
I
so
don't
I
know if
don't
Jeff
know if
got to see
it's
them, so I got to pull them out so
yeah,
that Jeff can see them too.
Jeff has joined me 3 times this week, so no pressure from the rest of you guys next week. Step it up. Um,
No pressure.
No pressure. I'm just saying, Jeff came to 3 of my rooms this week, folks. So 2 times on Tuesday. So I'm just saying, you want to be a favorite. Um, Hey,
We
I'm
we
all
don't
about a
have favorites
shameless.
here.
I'm a shameless plugger, okay, people. I'm whatever it takes to get an audience, okay. Um, no, we love everybody. We actually really do. So we are actually truly appreciative of everybody that tunes in and watches on the replay. And you guys allow us to, hopefully educate you, and maybe we're teaching, but we also know we're slightly entertaining. Um, Maybe not
So
fully
it's
entertaining.
edutainment.
It's edutainment.
Okay.
So, and yes, to Steve and Americo, I am also a big Logan and Briscoe fan, but that is Law and Order. I am actually a Law and Order SVU fanatic. So
Such a distinction.
there is a distinction,
I'm not knocking it.
but fully great franchise all around. So, and on that note, Shell, close us out.
We have thoroughly enjoyed you all being here with us today, whether you were able to join live or you're catching us on the replay. Hopefully, you took away some nuggets to inform your content DNA and develop that a little bit further for yourselves. We'd love to hear from you. What is your biggest takeaway? What is something that you're wanting to work on? You can share that with us here in the chat. You can message us privately. You could even create a post around it if you want to, create some content. Just saying, since we were talking about it, you don't have to, though. Do what feels good for you. And we welcome you to back again next week. Same LinkedIn time. I know I was about to say same bat time, same bat channel, but same LinkedIn time, same LinkedIn channel. Different event page link though, so I don't want to confuse you. Make sure, if you have not already done so, that you take some time to look around the room, the replay, the chat, if you will. Go back to the event page, see who else had an interest in being here with you all this evening, and see if there's any conversations worth having. What conversation and engagement can come out of it, you never know, but we're all here for the same reason, to become LinkedIn rock stars. So I'm here for it. Let's have a conversation. Back
And
over
I
to
just
you,
want to
Mel.
say, yes, Meryl, you are right, 3 for 3, but you're part of, I feel like you're part of the team. I'm not saying it's a requirement for you to be here with us but I feel like you're part of the team. So
Yay, girl.
if you're not here, I actually get concerned. Like, I'm literally like, okay, where's Meryl? I gotta send him a message. I haven't heard from him. So yeah, so I just want to give that distinction, because you're you're a lifetime member of the club. Um, so you're one that shows up there all the time. So but yeah, no, great. We're sorry that Roy had to miss today. He had business, other things happening in the world down in Australia, but we'll be back next week, and we look forward to you guys joining us. And on
Bye,
that,
everyone.